preschool, kindergarten, first grade kids in, like, the 3 towns here went to the same place. Which also coincidentally was across from a graveyard.
Oh, that's no good.
Where my aunts and uncles are buried.
That's how you get a haunted school.
Yeah. Anyway, and I remember that we would take this really long, rural-ass bus route to get home and to go to school. And I just remember seeing all of these old barns with, like, the junk cars out front and just, like...
Oh, that reminds me of my grandmother's. Like, you've seen my grandmother's house. I've showed you pictures.
Right.
Like, if you didn't know any better, would you think anyone lived there still?
I honestly don't know, because... Like, I honestly don't know anything anymore, because my grandma would tell me stories about mountain people who lived in houses that were literally made of plywood and cardboard, so I don't know.
Right. Like, I love the idea of exploring abandoned places, but you also have to take into account just inherently dangerous that could be. Right. You don't know what you're going to find in these places.
Right. Like, for all we know, we'll go and, explore an abandoned house down the road and just, oh, we found her!
Oh my god, that would be so bad. Just, that, like, this is why you're always told, wear PPE, have food, have water, have a camera, have it always on. Always, always, always. Have it on while you're driving there. Have it on the entire time you're in there. Have the headlight. Have everything.
Well, that's like, what was it,
And probably have a knife, too, at this point.
Well, it's like a couple weeks ago, literally, somebody found a dead body down by the river. And they just dragged it up to the park and, like, had it sitting at the park. And it was just like, yeah, no, we just found this and brought it up here. And I'm just like...
You just contaminated a crime scene.
Well, there's no saying that it was a crime. Like, I don't know if it was a crime or not.
But you still contaminated the evidence.
Exactly. I'm just like...
You can't move it from where you found it. You can't move it from where you found it. Because that takes away how it ended up there. If you touch it, you're putting your own DNA onto it. And when you're moving it, there's a potential you're destroying evidence.
Which is fair, but what if you do it to cover up the fact that you did it? Just heard her, I'm dumb and didn't know better, but hey, there's now a reason for my shit to be all over this body.
Yes and no, because if it's all over, they'll still be able to, like, figure out, like, okay, there's hand impressions here. There's fingerprints here, there's DNA here. They should be able to tell, like, did you just move it? Or did you do something else with it? Because, back to what I said earlier, again, technology is amazing nowadays.
Right. I literally, going back into our original topic, I really kind of want to know what they have on this Webster dude. Mostly because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, well, I don't feel like they, like, yeah, they have this, evidently, a confession of some sort.
Well, they have a confession of some sort, secondhand. Like, they should have found some sort of evidence, and if not, he's still out there.
Well, here's the thing. He's out on bail or whatever until arraignment. But in order for him to have arraignment, doesn't that mean that they have some sort of evidence that he did it?
They had to have found something. Reasonable suspicion to indict him. Just, there has to be reasonable suspicion and or evidence. The secondhand confession amounts for something. It's possible that he just cracked under the pressure of being questioned. Because, I mean, if he told this lady, he obviously doesn't know how to stay quiet.
Right, I want to know what happened, like, because all of this stuff is now kind of coming back, and we're so close to having an end here.
We're hoping, anyways.
But just, like, they have this person who evidently told somebody that, yes, they committed the crime, and they evidently had some kind of reasonable suspicion to not only,
I think
have him arraigned, but also Because you can't take and search somebody's property without reasonable suspicion, yeah?
Well, I'd say that the secondhand confession constitutes as that. They could have shown up without the warrant at first, but, given the way he probably acted, they could have easily gotten, well, we're going to be right here, we're going to get the warrant, and we're coming back.
And evidently that's, whether they just showed up with the warrant or whether that's how it went down, or however it went down,
right.
Properties were searched, including ones that were owned by him.
Which means in one of these properties, it's very likely that they found something, whether that have been a confession on a phone, something written, her DNA. We don't know what they found in this property.
Well, don't you also, wouldn't you also have to have, what you said the secondhand confession counts for, but, why else would they wiretap his phone?
Obviously, to gather more evidence. So maybe they even heard him say something about it.
Well, that's why they got them on the plagiarism charge, because they were, talking about it and evidently, lying about shit.
Right, which counts as obstruction of justice, which is immediately a crime.